Alrighty, let's get this show on the road. I'm waiting for this to run. All right. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us via YouTube live stream. We hope you are all staying safe and pushing through this semester. My name is Chris Moore, and I will be moderating today's town hall. The purpose and overall goal for these town halls will be to showcase important information that may be overlooked, on top of allowing students to voice their opinions through a form that was sent out via social media. We would like to build upon transparency with a direct streamline of communication through various departments. Moving forward, we would also like to thank our stacked panel for attending and their willingness to answer pressing questions from the student body.
Stacked panel.
On today's call, we have our 9th president of the university, Dr. Gordon, our vice president of university affairs, Dr. Fry, our provost, vice president of academic affairs, Dr. Bullard, our chief diversity officer, Dr. Fields, our vice president for university advancement, Ms. Still, our executive director of enrollment management, Ms. Brecht, our chief information officer, Mr. Espinoza, and our director of athletics, Mr. Ivy. Also, let's see, do we have Dr. Sullivan? Okay, and also we have our interim dean of student affairs, Dr. Holly Smith. So to start off, I would also like to thank our interpreter, Ms. Shannon Jacobs, for interpreting this program. To start off, I would like our panelists to introduce themselves and their roles here at SFA.
Well, thank you, Christopher, and I'll start. And well, yes, this is a stacked team. I would like to say that it's also the A team. And so I'm Scott Gordon. I serve as president for Stephen F. Austin State University, and I'll let it go around now to the other A team members.
I'm Anthony Espinoza, Chief Information Officer.
Steve Bullard, and as Provost and VPAA, another word for that is Chief Academic Officer.
I'm Dr. Mashara Delaney Fields, Chief Diversity Officer.
I'm Irma Nieto Brecht, serve as the Executive Director for Enrollment Management. And so the Enrollment Management Division includes the admissions office, so the recruitment activities for the university, the registrar office, so those activities for commencement, adding classes, getting registered, financial aid and scholarships, and then also our newly added AX handle, the One Stop. So I'm excited to visit with y'all today.
Hi, I'm Jill Steele, Vice President for University Advancement. And in Advancement, we take care of fundraising and alumni engagement at the Alumni Association.
Hello, Ryan Ivy, Athletics Director.
And I'm Brandon Fry. I'm actually the Vice President for Student Affairs. University Affairs was the previous, my predecessor's title, but we're moving in a new brand, in a new direction, and it's Student Affairs, focused on students.
Okay, I believe that was it. All right, so let's just go ahead and hop into the questions. I'm gonna start y'all off a little easy right now. So the first question states, as executive leaders of this institution, how do you all strive to make an impact on student success?
Well, let me take that one first, and I'm actually going to do away with my virtual background, because if you can see back here, the cabinet knows what this says on my board, but it's student access and student success. That is what we're here for. That is what we work towards. That's what every single decision is made with, that idea behind it. How can we make sure, how can we enhance our students' access to education and success to education? And literally every single person on this phone call is dedicated to that in every single decision that they make, every single dollar they raise, and every single decision that goes out of their offices, and I'll let them talk about how they do that in each individual area.
Well, I'm going to jump in there and start first because to me, sometimes I kind of see I'm a little bit of the beginning part of student success. And some people might say, well, recruitment, how does that have to do with student success? You don't even know the students. But I think one of the things that we in admissions and the recruitment objective is just that is making sure the students, the prospective students who are learning about SFA, who are selecting SFA, that there is a good fit, there's a good match on all aspects, from academics to what the experience. If they're coming in thinking, hey, we're gonna go and experience, jousting here. Well, that would be misleading. We don't have jousting. I don't think we have jousting, but we could maybe have jousting. But we're the storytellers of the university, and what's really important is that we are already providing an expectation that is going to lead to student success. So we're starting even from the front end, making sure we're having students and their families know what SFA is about. And so that's, I think, one of the first steps toward making sure that we're leading towards student success.
And I'm going to play off of that. And one of the areas that I have is making sure that the campus is welcoming and that the students feel as if they belong here. And that I couldn't do that alone. I have to have my team and the students involved in that process as well. So we actually feed off of each other, whether that's development, whether that's enrollment management, whether that's IT, whether that's student affairs, where most of the programs, we have to start at the recruitment piece, and then in that middle part, make sure that they're welcome, provide them the opportunities to grow on campus with student development and student engagement, and then be able to retain them during that whole process and ultimately through completion. So making the students feel welcome and belong. And that goes right in line with student access and student success. So.
And I'd like to tie into something Dr. Gordon said about every decision, because ultimately it comes down to the culture of the university. If the culture isn't student-centric, in my view, you don't have a university. But some are not. Some are research-centric. But when we use that phrase, one lumberjack at a time, it can't be just a catchphrase. It has to be something that you live every day. And that comes down to the individual decisions, specific things like course appeals, just all kinds of things that come up, with 13,000 students and tens of thousands of courses offered every year and hundreds of faculty. A lot of interactions take place, but it comes back to culture. And Dr. Gordon, I'm going to go ahead and cite Peter Drucker. Some of you may have heard of Peter Drucker, but he said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. What he means by that is you can put in place all the strategies you want, but if you don't fix the culture element, you'll never get those strategies achieved. So when we say student success and we put things in place like the ARC, the services that we do there, that's not going to achieve anything if our entire culture doesn't back that up. So on our side of the house, for example, the faculty that we hire, it actually says in the faculty handbook that they won't achieve tenure, which many of you know, tenure is a commitment to their continued employment. They won't achieve that if they haven't shown themselves to be good teachers. But that doesn't mean that every teacher at SFA is a good teacher. So I'm not saying that, because that would assume that we're in a perfect world. But believe me, every decision that comes down to that, are they good teachers, and can they? And I will say this too. Dr. Gordon's consistent with Dr. Patillo and Dr. Westbrook with one thing. I've been very impressed by this. When it comes down ultimately to important decisions, they always ask what's best for our students. And that becomes cultural. Anyway, thank you.
Awesome. Thank y'all for the insight on the question. My next question states, what are some challenges the university faces in regards to our campus community? How are we working towards overcoming those challenges?
So do you want, we didn't talk about how we were going to answer these. I can tell you, that's again, something that we are very focused upon, especially in these last 12 to 18 months. We've done a lot of things at the cabinet level in order to look at our campus makeup, our campus climate. What are areas and ways we can improve that campus climate? What are areas and ways that would be, quite honestly, a threat to a solid campus climate? And so one of the things that is important in that is communication, and communication with all of our students about what's working, what's not working, and any issues there may be that we need to be aware of. And then, we have conversations, and I'll bring them up, the preacher, about, how do we deal with this given the free speech, First Amendment free speech rights, the university climate, and so on. And those are all things that we are constantly talking about in regards to how can we put forth the best climate for our students for teaching and learning.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. This next question is directed to you as well. So Dr. Gordon, your tenure as president so far has opened new opportunities the university has never been faced with. How do you plan on continuing your legacy and building relationships, keeping a strong academic faction, while upholding the values and responsibilities you're tasked with?
Yeah, so, 5 months into the job, COVID hits. Then we have a near miss hurricane. Then we have 3 winter storms in the period of 2 months, 2 of which were in 1 week. By the way, I walked outside today and something hit me on the side, and I looked down and it was a locust. So, we know what's next, right? Lenana Creek is going to flow red and the locusts are going to start flying. But in all seriousness, it's a matter of focus, keeping your focus on what really matters, and that is student access and success. And so when you look at what we've been through, we have done what we can to make sure that our students are safe, healthy, and we have the best climate we can for the learning process. And the same thing goes with faculty, and Dr. Bullard can talk about some of the things we've done for faculty, because our faculty all have requirements for teaching, for scholarship, for service. And with this pandemic, many of them have been unable, or has made it very difficult for them to do the research or the service that they are required to do. So we looked at how do we broaden and expand some of our standards, not necessarily lower bars, but how do we allow some flexibility for those faculty? And I think it all really comes back to the idea that we have to have good communication. We have to be transparent. And when we do make decisions, we have to explain why we're making those decisions. And so I'm excited about the way we're moving. I'm excited about the partnerships we've been able to forge with the state and elected officials, our county, our city. And it's a new day, it's a new world. Hey, isn't that a song? It's a new day, it's a new world. Sorry, I won't sing anymore because it's not good. But I think we just need to look, we're all going to have at times tensions or disagreements. But if we can sit down and talk with one another about them, that is going to make a world of difference. And if we understand why decisions are made. So that's the pledge that all of us in the administration have, is that openness, that transparency, and being able to explain why we're making various decisions. And that includes everything from budget to policy and beyond.
Awesome, thank you. This next question is for you, Dr. Fry. So as our new Vice President for Student Affairs, what do you envision an SFA community as well as the Student Affairs Department to look like in the next 3 years?
I actually wrote down some notes. I wanted to make sure that, I think part of communication is making sure you get it out accurately. So I wanted to make sure it was there. I think that we'll have enhanced support networks that are going to be focused on well-being, safety, and inclusiveness and a welcoming campus. We'll have innovative programs that will positively engage students in campus and in the community. We're going to create pathways for the student's voice to be heard. We're going to increase retention due to a welcoming and supportive environment. Respect and civility are essential elements of the community. We're going to have decreased student conduct issues. We're going to provide more support to those struggling with equity issues, things like food insecurity, provided more support to those struggling due to mental health issues. We're hopefully going to have an increased sense of trust and reliability in crisis response and mitigation processes. We'll feel a sense of innovation and a sense of motivation. Those are some of my hopes for and a vision for the community, the SFA student community, and us working with them.
Awesome, thank you. So the next question states, last spring semester, to accommodate the deadly virus, we transitioned into a hybrid modality. Are there plans to continue this format and keep 8-week courses?
Steve, you want to take that one?
Sure. That's obviously an extremely important issue for all of us. And last spring, during spring break, when that change was made, we didn't really have a choice. What we're trying to do and what we have been trying to do is maximize how many options that students have. Just this morning in the cabinet, we talked briefly about whether we would have social distancing protocols to face in the fall semester. And right now, that's the best assumption we can make about the fall. I mean, we can hope for the better, but again, hope isn't a strategy. In planning for the fall, we are planning to increase the options that we present so that students and faculty have the options that make sense. On the 8-week semester, on the 8-week courses, the answer is yes and no, in the sense that the 8 weeks don't really work for some subject areas, but they work very well for others. So it comes down to individual program level decisions among the faculty and the academic units about what will be best. Again, to best meet the needs of students, as that is an overarching goal.
Awesome, thank you so much. So the next question says, for students of color, how does the university plan to retain and recruit a more diverse population?
If it's okay, I want to start on the front end, and I know others may want to add too, but you know, on the recruit side, I do want to really mention that I think there is several things that we can do in regards to helping promote a more diverse population. And some of those things are small. I'll give you some examples. Some of you as students, y'all know me, and I've only been here for about 2.5 years. And so let me just share a couple of things. When I arrived, one of the things I found that was really important, even here in our admissions office, right? So prospective students are coming to visit. I didn't see really anyone like me. I didn't see a lot of diversity. So that was something I wanted to change that I thought was really important, and already took those steps and made that change. So like our student workers, our jack walkers who give our tours, we have made huge efforts and improvements on really providing diversity so that visitors, prospective students, back to Dr. Fields' comment about making sure we feel someone feels welcoming here, is that they can find someone that they can also connect with, that they can say, okay, I can see myself here. And so some of those small changes, some of you may have attended one of a big Saturday showcase, for example, when y'all were checking out SFA. And one of the things we wanted to do to help students whose parents were more comfortable speaking Spanish, we created something as simple as a button that said, "Se habla español," so that when they saw our jack walkers, faculty or staff, we had those buttons so that they could say, hey, I can ask my questions in Spanish, so that they felt welcome and knowing that there was someone who could help explain something to them in a language that they were more comfortable with. Those didn't take a lot of time, those didn't take a lot of money, but those are just some small examples of being able to show that we want diverse, we want to really help promote that welcoming environment to a very diverse population. On the more strategic side, from the recruitment things that I want to share is, even as we go in, of course, this year with the pandemic is a little different for us as admissions team. We're usually out recruiting and visiting high schools all across the state, and even and we get invited to a lot of recruitment events that sometimes are very tailored to particular populations and topics. So that's one of the things, is making sure that we are having SFA visible, that we're making, helping promote SFA to populations, to high schools that are maybe predominantly African-American or predominantly Hispanic, having a presence down in South Texas, just different strategies that allows SFA to be accessible.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Sorry. Siri thought I was talking to her. Those are some things that become more strategic that we are already doing, and we're going to continue to enhance how our programs and how those efforts help make a diverse environment, a diverse population feel very welcome here.
And to add to Irma, one of the other initiatives is, making sure that once we recruit these students, that we also retain them, as I said before. And one of those initiatives is making sure that we have the faculty on campus and recruiting a diversified portfolio of faculty and staff. And so I have a meeting with Dr. Bullard and John White and HR on Friday to discuss some of those initiatives to make sure that we are being intentional about getting a diversified faculty and staff here, so we would be able to retain those students. But another piece of that is for you guys to be our recruiters as well. It's not just on us, it's everybody at the institution to be recruiters. But one of the proven facts is that the best recruiters are the students themselves. And so putting that accountability on you as well to tell your stories about your experience here at SFA. So making sure that we're intentional about that as well. I know Irma and I, when I first got here, talked about maybe doing something different about revamping the recruitment video, where students would be able to tell their story and our diverse faculty would be able to relay their different cultures on a video to where everybody can see it. So that's something that's in the works, and we're definitely going to include the students in that project. So you guys being the recruiters is the big piece about it. You can hold us accountable, but we also want to hold you guys accountable for making sure that you are the recruiters for SFA as well.
And if I can add also, one of the things is the institution's strategic plan is have positioning SFA where we can become what's called a Hispanic serving institution, and taking the steps to actually make that happen. And part of that is having a Hispanic student enrollment of 25%. So right now we're at like 19%. So definitely moving toward that. And also it's going to prepare and benefit all of our students as the whole state and our country becomes such a much more diverse population. I think that truly benefits all. But I really want to echo Dr. Fields' comment that you also play a role in helping recruit and retain a diverse population, and y'all are influencers. And so I really thank you for that as you share your experiences with your family members, your neighbors, your teachers. So it makes a big difference.
A follow-up
If I
question.
may,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. If I may add, I'm involved on the search committee with the next provost search. And one of the things the search committee is asking the candidates that are being interviewed is to discuss and talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's strategies for diversifying our faculty pool, and strategy involved in revolving around that. So, as others have mentioned, it's part of the strategic initiative of the university, and that starts with the leadership, right? And asking these candidates at the provost level and others, what are they going to do? How do they envision that? And some of the strategies they would undertake. So just wanted to share that with the group.
Awesome. A follow-up question for that would, part of retention, would the flat rate tuition coincide with a strategic way of trying to keep students here, like for our lower income students?
Yes, because it definitely impacts accessibility and affordability for students and their families. And so that particular type of strategy in regards to our flat rate tuition is definitely something with that in mind in regards to students.
Awesome, thank you. All right, the next question states, SFA and Nacogdoches community experienced a rare snowstorm that swept through Texas a couple of weeks ago. Prior to, were there ever plans for such an unexpected disaster? And how is the institution moving forward with future natural disaster preparation?
Danny, do you want to take that?
Yes, you bet, Dr. Gordon. Hey, Chris and student leaders, how are y'all today? So what we have, couple things. We have a business continuity plan. Let's go to the extreme. Let's say that we have a natural disaster, hurricane, tornado, something like that disrupts the entire campus physically. Buildings go down, Austin building goes down. Talk about the extremes here. We hope and pray never happen. We have a business continuity plan whereby we keep our IT infrastructure in place. We have backups. We also have backups for payroll, offsite activities for that. In terms of student support, we would have to work with the particular residence halls that are impacted by that. But in terms of business continuity, yes, we do have a plan, and we filed that with the state. In terms of emergency operations, interestingly, Chris, we got an opportunity to see how that worked a couple of weeks ago. And what we found was that there were some SFA employees that stepped up like troopers to help students first. I think y'all have heard the story about some folks from the physical plant who carried water buckets from the ag pond to residence halls to assist with the toilet facilities there. So I know Carrie Charlie over in auxiliary worked really hard to help feed students who were on campus. What we find is in developing emergency operation plans or business continuity plans, we develop a structure that would fit most situations, but we have to react and adapt to the particular kind of emergency or catastrophe that occurs. In East Texas, frankly, I would have never envisioned a situation where we're shut down with snow like we were. So we do have structure, but we have to adapt to the conditions that are before us.
And if I may add to that, from an infrastructure perspective for IT, we look at the services and the things that we acquire with redundancy in mind to ensure that when we do have these type of challenges that we continue operation. So we do have a specific IT continuity plan. We try to test that annually in various ways. So in December, we were able to test some of our redundancy that proved successful. So, and I know many individuals on this call face many challenges with water and electricity during that winter storm. But one thing I can say from an SFA infrastructure perspective relative to IT services, the services stayed up. Something Dr. Gordon asked, how did our internet do? Because of the redundancy, we had our internet connectivity. Our internet connection stayed up the entire time. Even though we lost a segment of it because of the redundancy, we were able to continue that continuity. So it's something that we think about and plan for as much as possible, because there are things to Dr. Galland's point that you wouldn't expect, in Texas to occur, but so we do our best.
Yeah, I think, it goes back to a slang that, you have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So I think, it's not the question of when the next natural disaster is going to occur, but not if it's going to happen, but when it's going to happen. So we have to always be prepared for that. Just focus on, the institution itself on top of students' safety as well.
Absolutely. And Chris, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I missed you there. So Dr. Gordon has called for Friday a winter storm or disaster debrief. So we're going to get together, and what we're going to talk about some lessons learned, how this was different than what we have planned for or structured before, then how we can adapt and modify our procedures.
Definitely. And I also, from my perspective, and hopefully the other student leaders on this can attest to it, but I think the communication was very efficient whenever, information was rolling out, and it was very informative. Unfortunately for the students and faculty that didn't have internet, it was a little bit difficult, but I think overall the communication was very well. So thank y'all for that. Moving forward, as you know, SFA Athletics has accepted the invitation to join the Western Athletic Conference. What are some important takeaways and advantages you would like to express to the student body regarding that?
I'll take that, Dr. Gordon, unless you want to.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Again, as we looked for conference affiliation and looking at really the opportunities that we have from a athletic standpoint, the WAC provides us an opportunity to raise our institutional profile. It provides entry into and exposure into new markets, provides an association with institutions with significant growth and success stories, expands our footprint to learn from other like-minded and forward-thinking institutions, allows us to enhance our brand equity through Division I by the WAC name recognition and men's basketball RPI net ranking success. And it's also going to allow us to help with revenue opportunities with our divisional alignment play. It will allow us the opportunity to actually reduce our average trip because our divisional play will be made primarily of all Texas institutions. And so allow us to reduce those opportunities. And quite frankly, it's going to allow us an opportunity to compete at a higher level. Which at the end of the day will provide additional value, exposure, and awareness to the institution. And because of that, we'll have the opportunity to raise the profile of every degree that comes from SFA. And so we believe this is a great opportunity for us. We believe this is a great chance for us to do some really good things and achieve our vision of becoming the leading mid-major athletics department in the nation. And we're excited about the opportunity to start July 1.
To follow up with that, how's the construction for the new Coliseum going?
Yeah, so right now, before the winter storm, it was scheduled to be July 19th. After the winter storm, we're probably looking now more towards the end of July. But the goal is to be fully moved in before school starts here this fall semester.
Thank you. Moving forward, given the current budgetary deficits, how would that potentially affect our student body?
Well, I'll answer that one. We every day talk about how can we look at providing the students the resources that they need in the education that we want to deliver and have minimal impact on our students. And so my hope is that even though we are having budgetary difficulties based on COVID, primarily, students won't know the difference. And so that's some of the things that we look at pretty much every single day is what are the ways we could develop efficiencies and not impact the effectiveness of the teaching and learning and how our students are progressing.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. Moving on to the next question. How has the pandemic affected donor contributions from alum?
Thank you. Nice question. Really, we were surprised right off the bat, thought it would be difficult because we couldn't travel. You know, we have gift officers that go out to the areas where we have the majority of our alums and meet with not only prospective donors, but donors. And that's how you build relationships. So we knew right off the bat it was going to be difficult. However, over the past year, we have had a tremendous amount of support from our alumni base and friends in terms of major gifts. It was a little bit harder and more difficult and challenging with those annual gifts. The annual gifts typically support our academic areas, so your colleges and your departments and classrooms and that sort of thing, whereas the major gifts may be endowments to provide funding for scholarships, which help us recruit and retain students, and or program support that you all will experience sometimes in the classroom or your particular program. But I would just say we've been pleasantly surprised because we've had to go completely virtual, getting into a little bit of travel again, but we've had great success with major gifts, struggled a little bit with those annual gifts, which I hope we will be able to improve this next year. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So the final question that we have for you right now is, how can SGA help admissions achieve institutional goals?
That's a great question. How can SGA help admissions reach institutional goals, or I guess admissions or administration? Maybe I got too overly excited.
Let me rephrase. It can go for admissions administration. I apologize.
That's okay. I'll do a little plug in, and then I'll make sure others get to share as well. In regards to one of our institutional goals is definitely to enhance the enrollment, enhance the diversity, the access and success of our students. And so I just really want to emphasize the role each of you play in helping recruit students, but it's also your role in helping retain students. As a leadership group for this campus, you have an opportunity to be a voice. You have an opportunity to really also identify where, as administration, there are concerns that y'all can bring to our attention where we could do better. And we value that voice. We're dependent on it. We want to hear those. We want to always hear great things, right? But we also want to be able to utilize you all and your leadership role as a student body to see how can we make things better. So definitely for recruitment and always admissions, we're on the second floor of Rusk. I welcome any of y'all to come on by, but I also want to give opportunities for a few others to add to the question.
Yeah, so I'll add something real quick, and then I'll turn it to some of the other leadership. Students need to be involved, and you as SGA members should be the leaders in involvement. And there's going to be a lot of new ways students will be able to be involved. In fact, I've been working this semester on the development of a shared governance document, and students are part of the university's shared governance. And so what you'll see, and when it gets to the point where it's ready to be shared widely, that students have a very distinct part in that shared governance environment. And it's an expectation that that involvement will be active, that voice will be heard. And, you know, I got to tell you this, during the storm, I got to brag on Christopher a little bit, because sometimes, you know, we get on Christopher about things here and there, but he rolls his eyes like, yeah, you do. But we had a series of, gosh, it seemed like hourly, but regular meetings on Zoom over the course of the 7 or so days that the storm was hitting us. And Chris was on every single one of those calls, communicating about how the students were, what were their concerns, how were they feeling, what did they have and not have. And that was very, very important. And so as we move forward with a shared governance document, it'll become very evident where and how students can become involved. And my expectation is that the Student Government Association, well, you know, I know there's a handful of you and you can't do everything, but you will at least be able to help get the students involved that need to be involved in the various decision-making points that come along.
Building on that, I think every university has a mission statement, and SFA's has 2 sentences in it. The first one you'll find at every institution. We're dedicated to excellence in service, teaching, and research. Every institution will say that. But for SFA, the second sentence is the one that stands out and makes us distinctive, and that we should be honest to it, and we should hear from you when we're not. The second sentence is, through the personal attention of our faculty and staff, we engage students in a learner-centered environment, preparing them for success in a global community. But through the personal attention of our faculty and staff, when you feel like you're being shortchanged in any way, or we're not engaging you effectively in a learner-centered environment, those are the very things that we have to hear about, because only then can we make the changes needed.
I would say from an athletic standpoint, the student body is extremely important to our student athletes. I can tell you as a former student athlete, there's nothing more exhilarating than playing in front of a crowd that's full of your peers and your classmates. And there's nothing more disheartening than playing in front of one that's empty. And if you can't do anything else for us, the one thing that you can do is be present. Be present, be loud, show up, support your classmates, support those individuals and our student athletes who are out every day working hard as they can to make sure that they do things that are certainly you guys can be proud of. They are representing this institution and they are representing you guys, and they want to do things that are successful for you because it helps you, and they need your help in order to do that. So I would just tell you, and I would certainly plead with you, if you can be there, come be there. Come support those student athletes. Be loud, get crazy, have fun. Make it to where those opposing teams don't like coming in here. And as we transition into the WAC, we've got our work cut out for us from a student support standpoint. When you look at what Grand Canyon's doing, when you look at what Cal Baptist is doing, when you look at what New Mexico State's doing, when you look at what some of these larger institutions are doing from a student support at athletic events, we have some work to do, and we certainly need you guys to do that. We want to make events fun for you, for students. We want you to enjoy coming there. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything from a ticket standpoint. We want you to do that. If you have thoughts or questions or ideas or things that you think would make the events better for yourselves and for your fellow classmates, don't hesitate to let us know. We want to know that. We recently had a focus group with student activities in Purple Haze, and had some really good thoughts and feedback, and are looking to implement some of those recommendations moving forward for the fall. So we want to hear from you, but more importantly, we want to see you. We want you to be there to support our current student athletes.
And Ryan, was that you really liked it when the students showed up for your badminton matches as a student athlete?
Absolutely. That's what it was. No question. Badminton was my game.
I think that also speaks to the accountability of all of our student leaders. SGA is one of the highest forms of involvement that you can be in, because you are the governing body for our students. And so while holding you accountable, that's really important, but also holding the administration accountable, I think it goes hand in hand. It's not one or the other. I think as you hold us accountable, we also have to hold you accountable as student leaders. So I think that's really important.
And I think it's important for you all to realize too, we're human, we're normal people. If you have issues, don't be afraid to talk with us. Come to and visit with us.
And don't put it on social media before you do that, before you go and talk to us, because we're here for you. So please come to us. All of us have open door policies. So if you have any questions in any of the areas, you have to be the voice for the students, because ultimately you want to get a degree here. So you can't downgrade your institution that you ultimately want to get a degree from. So we're here to answer those questions and take to the student body.
Hey, Chris, and I would add to that something. If y'all as a leadership body would look ahead to when you are graduates, when you're societal adults, you're making decisions for the greater good, think about the things that we could do for you now, such as internships, other kinds of things like that. If y'all could come up with some ideas, some strategies that you could suggest that we could integrate, into our processes, whether it's through student affairs or whatever the venue, that would help us to help you, I believe.
Brandon, I think you were wanting to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say a couple of things. So some things that I think that you all can help us with is aid in helping us determine your need. What are those needs? Not just wants, but what are your true needs? Aid in communicating with other students on campus. You guys are active in social media. And one of the things that can help us is with stuff like the SFA campus Facebook page. That's not affiliated with the university. It's not administered anymore by administrators of the university. But when you see things on there, if you forward them to those modes of communication which are recognized by the university, like our Twitter, our official Twitter, our official marketing, we've got a chief marketing officer coming in this week. So our webpage, those resources that are going to put out accurate information and not just misinformation and create rumors and distrust. I think we're going to ask you to help with your time, and you do, your talents, and in some cases, your treasures. You help us through your financial support, through tuition, and through the service fees. Those things are reviewed through an annual review process, the service fee, and participating in that. There's a number of SGA officers that are participating in that annually and helping us allocate those funds. And then lastly, I ask you to be curious and to think about how we can improve things around here, and to think about those plans and your vision and your, what I like to call, what impact will you have on this campus? Not just your legacy. Legacy speaks about you, but impact speaks about what you're going to do for this campus. So those are some things that I think you all can do to help us be better administrators and serving you all, and hold us accountable. Like you said, if you've got a question, it's easy. You have the right to do it. You can go blast on social media, but sometimes having that relationship and coming here, I know with COVID, we've got protocols, but you can still set up virtual times. I'm very open as the Vice President for Student Affairs, the Dean of Students, the Interim Dean, Holly Smith's on here, your advisor. We're very willing, and all the cabinet on the call are willing to be there. So utilize us as resources too.
Was there any additional information left out that y'all would like to address before we close? No? Okay. All right. Well, this will conclude today's town hall. We would like to show our appreciation to our cabinet members for their willingness to answer the questions, and also their dutiful responsibilities. So keep on doing y'all's task and wanting to affect change for our students. Just a quick reminder that SGA will host one more town hall starting on Thursday. That will be with our campus counseling services, and that will be at the same time. So thank y'all all for showing up tonight, and y'all have a great rest of y'all's day.
Thank you.